So hello and welcome to Drinks and Discussions, the RPG podcast. This is a podcast where a bunch of nobodies get together, pretend to be somebodies, and talk about RPGs. I'm your host, Wrath, Daddy Wrath, whatever you want to call me. I've got my co-host today, Adis. You will know him from stuff like the Labyrinthine playthrough. He was in some of the Divinity Original Sin 2, the Baldur's Gate 3, King's Crossing, a whole bunch of stuff there. He's also been a co-host on Dirty basically since the start. Other co-host down here, Mr. Pickles. You'll know him from a lot of the same things, as well as the one of the main hosts of And I Took That Personally, a podcast you can find on Spotify and Apple Music, as well as the DM storyteller of Strangetown of Golden Ridge, a TTRPG that he runs. Whole bunch of other stuff. Welcome, gents, to Dirty. Woo! Yay! Woo! There we go.
I didn't know we were supposed to cheer.
I was reviewing King's Crossing, going through the King's Crossing and reviewing it for building the wiki. And I think it was the first episode I was watching. I went through this whole intro, and I said, "And welcome to King's Crossing. We're here." And it went to just silence. And I was like, "Great." And I watched other people's intros, their D&D games and stuff, and they'll do a similar style, and then it cuts to the players, and the players are like, "Woo! Let's go!" They're all hyped, and then my players just silence. I was like, "All right, we're off to a strong start."
We're going to see how this goes.
I'm not that kind of person to be the cheering in the audience.
Yeah,
never have been. I didn't know we were supposed to. I thought it was okay, we're getting into it. Yeah. More than and also
It's
how
serious.
do Grunkle voice.
Also, yeah, prepare myself. I think it's one of those things, just knowing that you're on film and producing something and you're an actor and you have to act. Woo! Yeah! There's that side of things, and then there's the other side that is more us, where it's I don't really act, I'm real. I'm not gonna pretend. Which, I don't know, maybe I value that more.
I mean, you're getting the authentic pickle.
Authentic pickle is all we ever wanted.
It's a bit sour.
She's making herself a bed. Anyways, we're back with a discussion on RPG stuff and things. Or before we get into that, we're gonna hear from our local whiskey whiz. Whiskey Sips with the D's. What do you got today?
Welcome. Whiskey sip today is going to be Longhorn Straight Texas Rye Whiskey. It's a rye. It's a rye. Yeah, that's all I really can say about it. It's got notes of alfalfa sort of things in it, and it's got a bit of spice to it. Pretty much your stereotypical rye. Pretty good. It makes for good Manhattans. But drinking it straight is just as good.
You know what's not good drinking straight?
What's that?
Lafroig, highly single malt Scotch whiskey, aged 10 years, that I bought at someone's suggestion. If you guys are familiar with that Tylenol spray, you would spray at the back of your throat when you have a sore throat, and it would coat your throat. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Throat coat.
Yeah, throat coat. It's the same stuff. If you smell it, it smells exactly like it. Exactly. If I would think this is just what's in that bottle when they spray your throat. They just spray whiskey in your throat. That's what they're doing.
Well, did it work?
My throat is coated.
Yeah.
But Adis corrected me and he said usually it's probably just the throat pour. It needs to be mixed in. So I'm supposed to, give it, get into the meat of it before I actually enjoy it. This one, apparently you're just supposed to be a man, suck it down, and get into the good stuff. And I was like, wow, I feel called out now. But still, if you guys are looking for throat coats, Lafroig. Or what do we call it? Lafrog.
Lafrog.
I got the Lafrog throat.
Mm-hmm.
But as for drinks and discussions, we're gonna get into the discussion part of things. we were sitting here debating what in the hell we even wanted to talk about today. Because my idea was to come into these sessions with like an actual planned discussion where we could like spend the week getting some research, coming in with some notes, coming up with, some good talking points. And they were like, no, Wrath, we just show up and talk and say things that come into our mouth at the last minute. And I said, okay. So that's what we're going to do. So our discussion for today is...
Oh, you're passing that off to us.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the cue cards that you said that you were gonna have.
No, you said no cue cards. You said first thing that comes to mind is all we're saying.
Well, I still like some cue cards.
If I remember right, the quote was, "You underestimate my ability to summarize."
Well, I mean, okay, so let's start off with one of the ideas. One of the ideas that I thought was sort of interesting is how should animal companions work? Because I think a lot of people will come at that question with very different beliefs. And one of those basic beliefs are, should the GM, the storyteller, control the animal companion, or should the player be free to be like, my familiar trusts me, and so when I send my my pseudo dragon familiar to go peer around a corner, he just does it. It's basically an extension of my hand, or the hunting dog that you order around. What do you guys think?
Well, first off, I think there's two categories here: familiars and companions. Those are two very different things, and I think they get blended a lot, or they cross lines. I feel like a familiar is supposed to be an intelligent like being or creature that was specifically summoned there to serve you, whereas an animal companion is a pet. Like, I mean, Kira's a great dog, one of my my best dog I've ever had in my life. If I was like, go peer around that corner and come back and tell me what's over there, she'd be like, what? Like, I don't know that one. Like, it's not what a animal companion does. Yeah, paw. You want paw? I can sit. I don't know. But like if I'm in danger, like they would attack, or if I'm out on a cold road and I'm sleeping in the back of a carriage, like they would snuggle up next to you and keep you warm and stuff. Like, animal companion and familiars are two very different things.
True. Yeah, and the task still stands though. Is just are they able to fulfill the player's request without any roll? Just like a trained attack dog, I mean, could just be said, I want to use my attack dog. They attack, right? And at that point, should it be the player rolling and controlling and being like, okay, my attack dog goes over here, or should it be the storyteller GM?
That's a good question. I've seen it done multiple ways. Let's talk Pickles games. Pickles campaigns, I play a guy named Kingsman who has a dog named Titan. His dog is mainly just for flavor. He follows me around. It's been some incentives for like quests. He got attacked at one point. I dove out of my Jeep and saved his life and like went crazy for it around blah blah blah. It's flavor, it adds things to the game. But it's not constantly like, oh, I have to roll for my dog and like, oh, I want to, now it's my dog's turn. I need to do this. It's just kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of more flavor. I say that, but he does get a turn in combat for some reason, even though he doesn't know how to do any combat. I don't really know why you give him a turn in combat. He doesn't do anything, but
he hasn't done anything.
Yeah. But there's been other instances where there was someone that joined one of your games and their entire personality was playing as their familiar or their companion or whatever it was. If you remember.
Yeah.
And
yeah. You don't forget that.
Okay, we're moving from here to here. Okay. Wait. What does my companion do? I don't know. What does your companion do? So there's different versions of companions as far as control over them. As far as whether a DM should be in charge of that or a player, that's tough because there's times where as a player I would like Titan to do things, and then like you made him talk to me and it totally threw me off, and like the way he was talking to me I was just like, I don't like you anymore. Like I don't want you as my companion. But then there's other times where it's like, you know, hey, I want him to do this, and you're like, well, he doesn't know how to do that, so he does this, and I was like, ah, dang it, but it like built the connection. It's like working with an NPC. Personally, if I had to pick one, I would say I would prefer the DM to control them. And I think there just needs to be an understanding between player and DM as far as how into the story or how into the 3-hour game length your companion is going to be invested. And I think a big part of that, and something Pickles did well, is how well is your companion trained? What do they know how to do? And Pickles did a good thing. I think you gave me like 2 things that they knew how to do that I trained them on. Eventually, I got a
And
third
I've given
one.
you a third.
Yeah. Which it's
Pizza.
pizza. Long story. Go watch the show. But I think that was a good way to handle it. So that way I, as a player, knew what my pet could do. And then outside of that, it's just kind of a, will they do it? Like, I'm working with an NPC here, especially an NPC that's like an alien race who doesn't understand me, and like we kind of have to go off body language and like working together. So personally, I would say DM runs it, understanding between DM and player of how that's gonna go. That's my thoughts, and I think it's something that Pickles has done well. Do you have other thoughts? Have you had any instances with this? Adis.
Coming at me or
Me.
Adis?
Yeah, no, I've never been in any sort of tabletop campaign that had a animal companion of any sort.
Great choice of topic, Pickles.
Yeah, but I can say, like, from like gaming perspective, I've played a hunter before in World of Warcraft, and that has an animal companion as like a part of your combos and rotations. The way that they handle that is they have certain skills that are trained on certain pets, and you have to go and find the pets out in the wilderness that you want to have those skills. You learn the skill from the pet, and then you train it onto whatever your main pet is going to be. That's how they handle it, which can get a little convoluted, but you start to but it is kind of more of a trained aspect where like but also it's buttons, so you press a button to have your pet go attack the thing, and you have a button to tell them to use that ability, but they only have like 2 or 3 abilities, so that's what it kind of gets back to what you were talking about, Wrath, with like having 2 or 3 things that you know the familiar or your companion can do, but having but I guess leaving it kind of up to in that case, leaving it up to the code as to like how the pet is interacting, I guess, kind of
interprets that and acts it out.
Yeah, it's a little bit more straightforward, like coding wise. I mean, you can't code in like a animal behavior sort of thing. But I think
DM is your code.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that it would probably, if I were to try to incorporate something like that into a game, I think the question would be how intelligent and comprehensive is this familiar or this animal companion. If it's something that can understand these commands that you're giving them, that's one thing. If it's something that you've like trained it to do something on a cue, that's another thing. So like language comprehension, I think, would be a part of that. Is this companion something that comprehends language and can understand when you say, hey, go there? I mean, take, for example, dogs. You can train them to have like a place command where you point to a location, you say place, and the dog understands, oh, I need to go to wherever they're pointing, and it'll go to that location. And then heel, and the dog will come back to you. So those are things that you can train, but they don't understand like exactly what you're saying. Those are just like phrases and indicators that they've picked up on. Whereas if you're talking about like a fantasy setting and you have some sort of elemental construct that you've summoned, and it can comprehend language and do complex tasks, then I think that would be lending more to maybe the player can control it, especially if it's like that's also taking like a magical kind of approach to it. But yeah, so that's kind of where I come in on some of this this animal and pet tomfoolery. But I would interested to hear, Pickles, how you've kind of incorporated that into games. You've been at this a whole lot longer than I have, so what is your general? How do you blend it into your systems?
Well, as a storyteller, I like to take control because, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
There are stories that can be told with your players' creations and pets and whatnot. And that's why I like that there are some commands and that you can get reliable results about certain things from your minions or your familiars or your pets, animal companions, whatever you want to call them. Because I see them all as just different power levels in the same category. And like, as a player, my opinion is the opposite. Is I think the player, as a player, should have control in like the majority of the time. If you are running like a Beastmaster and you have tamed lions, you want to be sicking those lions on your enemies. You don't want to be like, oh dang it, they're revolting. Well, I gotta quell this rebellion. Like any more than you want to have a rebellion if you're a necromancer. Like if you play a necromancer, you can't tell me you don't want to have some skeletons and zombies. Okay, maybe they have a little personality, but otherwise they follow your command and kill off the bandits who are harming the living people.
Mhm.
I don't know. That's how I see it. Is I want to tell a story, but also I feel like where it matters, and especially if your character is built around it, that's when you should be having more control, like a necromancer or a beastmaster. If you've gone out of your way as a player to say, I want to control a bunch of minions, I think that's where I generally draw the line. But this whole conversation makes me think of a system that I'm spacing the exact name on, but I know maybe, well, I know definitely, Wrath, you've played the Pokemon systems
Yeah,
for
P2.
D&D.
Yep.
Adise, did you ever play any? Well, no, I wouldn't think so. Are you a
Ah.
Pokemon fan though?
I've I've watched the show a couple times, but I haven't really kept up on with it
Did
much.
you ever play like the video games, Game Boy?
The only one I ever played was Sapphire.
Fire. Okay, that
Yeah.
was unexpected. Even though
It's
I
not the
remembered
usual
we're
one
about the
that
same age.
if you only ever play one, that's not usually the one people play.
It was the one
Yeah.
that I got and the one that I could play on my little Game Boy Micro.
Attaboy.
What the hell is a Game Boy Micro?
Game Boy Micro. It was like
that real?
yeah, it's a real thing. It had a
Serious?
yeah. Go ahead and look it up. It was the only Game Boy that I ever got. I
Really?
never had the
A Game Boy Micro.
Color, never had the DS. Just Game Boy Micro.
Interesting.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
That was around for all like a month.
Yeah, I think it was like
That's like
very limited.
my first system was the Sega Dreamcast. My dad got it when it first came out. Was like, this is the new hit thing, and then like a year later, it was discontinued. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, never mind. Made like 12
Yeah, my dad
games.
heard. Yeah, my dad heard Game Boy, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, this is the one."
Good enough.
I was like, all right.
Sure.
It played. It used Game Boy Advance games. Yeah, no, it literally was like this big.
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture of it is like a person with it in their hand.
No way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very micro, and
Like
it's not backwards compatible.
I might actually.
I got a
have it sitting
Pokemon.
here.
I got a Pokemon that's 2 pixels. I don't know what it is, but it's bigger than 1 pixel.
Dang it! I was like, surely he likes Pokemon. That's how we can
No, Pokemon
But
is a good like transition though, because you think of like a Beastmaster, or I've even thought about running, Pokemon games and stuff, and basically the game is you control a bunch of pets. As much as you say you wouldn't want a rebellion and stuff, like that's a big part of being a beast. Like that's one of the inner story quests where, hey, like if you look at the Pokemon anime, now granted I'm no expert, I'm no pro. I basically watched the first one and that's it. There's like 50 of them. I've seen one.
I've watched the first 5 episodes of like the original.
Yeah, well, there was one where he gets a Charmander, it grows into a Charizard, and then it's like pissed at him for some reason, and he has to like figure all that out. Wow, that really is tiny.
Yeah.
You played
Compared to my
Pokemon on
hand.
that thing?
It still has the yeah, I still got the cartridge in the back.
You could see it? What the fuck?
It was a good game though, to be fair. I think I had that one as well, but after
know
I'd
if I had
played
so far.
Silver and Blue.
I mean, you could even get a headphone jack in there.
Oh, that's cool.
Powers on and off right here. You have the upper buttons for left and right.
Jeez.
That's a micro.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, one of the things is like his Charizard grows up to, wow, it really does play it. His Charizard grows up to be mad at him and pissed him, and he has to like work through that. It's a character story, so you've got your pet. Maybe it's a familiar that grows to a point where it understands that it's just being controlled by you, and now you have to like work through that to have some like character building moment. So that I could see, but that shouldn't be the entirety of your character where you're constantly like, hey, I have the one thing I'm really good at, here it is. Oh, it's mad at me. Never mind. That would be like the warrior draws his sword and his sword puts itself back and he goes, no.
Well, I mean, I think I've mentioned it before. Oh no, go ahead, Aziz.
I was going to say that actually brings up a good point. Like there are some like magical items that do have like a mind of their own, and those are, I guess, kind of like controlled by the DM as like a suggestion of like what is being told to the player, and then the player has to be trusting enough with the DM to actually follow through on whatever that suggestion is. One of the things that that I think of when I hear that is Critical Role with Grog and Blood Drinker. So
I'm not familiar at all.
Okay.
I don't watch them.
Blood Drinker. Is that a?
It's a cursed sword.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, that has like a curse where it has to like feast on the blood of enemies every so often, and if he isn't going and killing something as often as the DM thinks they should, then a little like they'll get a whisper in their ear of like, I need to feed, sort of thing, and they have to state it, or otherwise something bad happens.
I mean, yeah, that is a more extreme version of what I was gonna say. Like what I was gonna say is just that I know I've said it to, I think I've said it to every player with Savage Worlds, that anything that is like that, if you take trademark weapon or if you have Excalibur, I feel like as a storyteller, I have a limit of one time I can fuck with that. And once I've done that, then any more would be abusive. Like there's only one story where you misplace your magic wand because there's a thief who grabbed it, and the story is you getting back at them and using all your other resources, like that kind of thing. And so I wouldn't want to do that willy-nilly, as the kids say.
So I got, in that system, I have an M4 that is my trademark weapon. It's all kitted out, special weapon. It's got a lot of meaning to me. If every single episode it's like, oh, and it's gone, I'd be like, bruh, what's the point? Like, why did I even take it? Like, I don't have it more than I have it. Like, I would be mad. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think messing with it once gives it a story, gives it some significance and like something to remember. Hey, remember that time we went on that adventure for this thing? Like, crazy. Like Excalibur is a known sword, a known item, not because it's a super amazing sword, because of the story that goes with it. In my opinion. And there's been plenty of kings and knights who used great, swords and did crazy stuff with them, but we don't know any of their names. We know it because of the story that goes with it. So if you do that with a pet, like Titan in Strange Shadow Golden Ridge, great dog. Basically just a pet until the moment that the squirrels attacked and he got yoinked by the squirrels and I had to jump out of the Jeep and go into a full auto to try and attack these monsters to save my dog. And now it's like, oh yeah, like Titan was in that episode, remember? And they're like, oh yeah, Titan, that's that dog that got attacked by the squirrel monsters. Like, yeah. You know, I mean, for the people who watch that series, you might get what I'm talking about, but the diehard fans.
That was a good moment.
You guys know.
But yeah, that's a good that's a good example. Is the taking the dog. You can't really go out of your way to make the dog a liability. Otherwise, the player's just going to be like, nope, done.
Yeah, this dog's more trouble than it's worth. Yeah,
leaving him home.
Yeah, leaving him in the kennel. Safe. Yeah.
And that's like not the point. Taking a dog as a pet that you wanted, and then you've purchased an edge to go with him. And Fred is waiting for an invite into this room. I can see him outside of the locked door we have of our recording room.
Let me in. Let me in.
Is he wanting in? I have to awkwardly change my stream to let people in. I can ask him if he wants in. But yeah, as far as animal companions, like I don't know. You play a video game, like a story-driven video game. If there's a dog in it, people love it, and you're able to pet the dog. Huge. Fallout, there's a dog, and you could pet it, and you could bring it back to your Baldur's Gate 3. There's a dog that we could get, and we're like, yes! And you know what? Whenever we got to camp, the first thing we all did is run over the dog and pet him. Like, they're great to have, but I think it's very delicate, because, I mean, in Baldur's Gate 3, were we really connected to that dog at the camp? It didn't do anything.
No.
Like, it just showed up in camp, and it was like, okay, now we have a dog in camp.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe there was a story with it later, we just never got to it, but,
yeah.
I think how you run the animal companion is pretty critical to a game.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring up another instance. So, in King's Crossing, I'm gonna let this slip. Did we already talk about this?
I feel like I'm gonna get a little bit of
I think
my own choices.
We did talk about this. So, I brought about this baby rhino, that I had planned for this baby rhino to like be a part of the story, be kind of engaged with here and there, and then later on in the story at some point, it would be available as a mount / pet for the party. Just a war rhino. I was like, that's super cool. Like, I don't know. To me, that's super cool. I love rhinos. They haven't told me anything that they would enjoy out of this, but I threw it in there kind of for me. And I pitched that.
I want a rhino.
Right. Well, yeah, I thought it was cool. Like a giant war rhino that like even was big enough if Grunkle wanted to ride it into combat. Like, fuck yeah. Right now it's just a baby rhino. Yeah, Adarag. But every time I brought this rhino in for it to like have these moments, like they saved it from the bandits, okay, and then it left and went on its way, and then they found that it found its mother, and they kind of engaged with it. They didn't engage with it at all. It like was like, hey, and did a little dance and like spun in a circle, like these are the people who saved me, and they just were like, okay, go away, get out of our way, and eventually they moved on, and then later they came across the mother dead, no baby. They didn't care. They're like, oh, Grunkle might eat. Like, he tried to eat it. And I was like, no, you're supposed to be connected to these things. And then they just moved on. They're like, oh, the baby's missing. No, they didn't even ask that. They just moved on. And now I'm sitting here. I was talking with the chat. I think it was maybe when I was editing or something. I can't remember. I was talking with them. And I was like, do I even bring this up anymore? Like, now I just feel like I'm pushing it. Like, they give no fucks about this rhino. Like, why would I bring the rhino back as a mount pet for them? They literally don't care.
You brought it to the wrong group.
That's constantly my problem. But that's Yeah. But that's another like issue with animal companions. Like, if the players aren't even interested, if you pitch it to the wrong group, is it even worth introducing one as an option? Like, when is it and when is it not a good idea to have an animal companion in the game?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, it's
Jess
it's
says
tough.
that the fat moose was just shat on all during the campaign. They didn't know what it was at first. I don't know if you saw that episode, but I described it as just this large gray creature. It's got like some kind of horn on its head, and like they'd never seen a rhino before, so they're like, "What is this thing?"
What is
So I
this
was
thing?
trying to describe it like in a weird way, and they're like, "Is that a deer? Is it a moose?" Like, so they called it a fat moose. But yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think it could be. Uh, I think, yeah, it just really does come down to like, if you're going to bring in something like that, having an understanding of what the limitations are up front with the players, with whether that's saying like, hey, here's a list of certain commands that you can give this thing that it will respond to, and here's some ones that you can try to use, but maybe they won't work as intended, sorts of things. Or if you that's even if you want to go into that much detail with it. Otherwise, it's just ask me what you want to do with the rhino, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this just brings me back to my thoughts on the story makes the character.
Mhm.
In that, like, I brought about this rhino, gave them story to go with it. Like, they had interactions with it a little bit here, a little bit there, a little. They didn't care about any of it. So then I'm like, okay, the story doesn't matter. So does the character matter?
Mm-hmm.
That's in my head. That's what I'm looking at. And I was like, okay, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they don't want any pet companions, or maybe that one didn't click, and I have to bring about a new pet companion in some other way later on that maybe they want. Maybe
Gibbs. Rawr.
no, they didn't like him either.
They sold him to the bird.
Yeah. They didn't like him either. Bjorn, nope, get rid of him. But I think that was Alexios passed him off.
I'm back. Have you gotten all over all the people that we didn't show you the proper love
Well,
for?
I think it's unfortunate because I think Grunkle liked Alexios
I
and
did.
passed Alexios off, thinking, "Hey, you guys will like Alexios too. We liked him, and
And
we're
he's
gonna try
helpful.
your NPC and like get to know him." I think Torvekik has made it very clear he doesn't want any NPCs. He's like, I don't want any of these people following us around. He's said that.
Mm-hmm.
He's stubborn. He's a
Yeah,
stubborn dwarf.
so that's an interesting group of how I'm gonna work with that. Shifty hasn't been around enough to talk to and share his own viewpoints, so I don't know about him. But
Mm-hmm.
with your group, you guys take to NPCs and characters. You're like, Bjorn, we're family. we're together.
Bjorn,
You're like,
I
Dibs.
like you. Gibbs.
And that's like I brought up the rhino and like, hey, this is a potential mount and animal companion, and they have not batted an eye once. They don't care. So I'm like, if the story makes this is what I was saying while you were gone, Pickles. If the story makes the character, like the story of Titan, like the story of Excalibur, that's what gives that thing value and worth and makes it a unique item rather than just another sword, just another dog. If the story makes the character and no one cared about the story, is the character even still important, or do I toss it and move on?
I think I think because you have small groups of like 2 to 3 players each, that leads you more towards having less perspectives and goals. Like you have a group of 4 people, they all have their own perspectives, and since they're all in the same situation at the same time, they're all kind of giving their own drive. Some people want to take advantage of the situation, some people want to cultivate this farmland. Some people, they all have their different goals and perspectives that lead to different decision making than when you have 2 characters. And so I think with each of your campaign storylines, you're coming from the perspective of your 2 to 3 players that have their own specific goals. I think it's very telling then that Adisa's group is more into the socializing and interacting with characters because that's what they want. And I think then you know exactly what Torvekic and therefore Fred wants.
Yeah.
You know what he's going for now, I think.
Absolutely,
and you can
yeah.
guess about Grunkle too having some alignment there.
Yeah, I've gotten a good idea for both parties. My next question was, when is it a good idea and when is it not a good idea to bring in an animal companion? Because, like, I was kind of tickling the idea with your party and you guys had wanted nothing to do with it. So now I'm like, okay, do you guys want no animal companions? Do you just not want one now? Do you want one that's not a rhino and you actually have a different story with? Like, and how does other DMs, how do they know, say, Adis is running a game for the first time, when is it a good time to introduce an animal companion, or is it just going to flop like mine? How do you avoid the flop? Like, can you prepare in a right way so that you're not just trial by error? Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the best way, the perfect way to do it is if the player asks for it. That's like a surefire way. If they ask for, like, I really want to have a character that has an animal companion, but I want to find them. I want something that really speaks to me, and they kind of tell you about that. That's one thing. That's going to be your easy street.
Fair.
But
Yeah,
when
that's
it's when it's characters who are otherwise neutral or players who are just kind of neutral about it, I think the best way is if the animal or familiar or summoned creature or weird skeleton guy with a fake mustache, if they provide some sort of benefit to the party, if at some point they come in handy where it's like, I mean, it helps if they make the party laugh with the mustache and everything, but if they can come in handy at one point, I think that's when players start to go, this character is useful and therefore kind of interesting. When it's a wild animal, and I'm pretty sure I was coming at that with a bit of bias once I figured out it was a rhino. It was an alien before it was a rhino, so in both cases I was scared.
Chat called it out. I think
Rhinos
you're the one who called it a fat moose.
Yeah, rhinos are, well, a moose is a very scary creature, but a rhino is a little bit scarier, and then a hippo is like another notch above that, I think.
Hippos are insane.
Violent, territorial creatures. I'm just an ogre. And I got stabbed too many times.
That is a fat unicorn.
Yeah, fat unicorn, yeah.
Actually, I was fully in good health when that fat unicorn charged at us.
Yeah, you were in better health than it.
Yeah.
It has a cut in its side now from Grunkle.
No, we don't know who swung.
We do know who swung Grunkle's sword.
Anybody could have done that.
Yeah. Chat says they're calling out. Chat doesn't think that either party was ready for the responsibility that an animal companion would constitute. Like, remember the healer you strained to incorporate into either party?
I like Mr. Bearman.
I had to fight to get him into the game. No one wanted to find him.
Bjorn.
And then when you found him, you were just like, go away. And then you found him again, and you're like, wow, we need a healer. And I'm like, you mean the one you sent away? And then you found him again, and you sent him away again. And I was like, were you guys just asking for a healer?
I'm pretty
I was
sure
so frustrated.
Well, okay, first off, you can't just say, hey, doctor, you work for us now. You're coming with us into dangerous lands.
That's what they did.
It's a hard conversation.
Well, actually, he was like, if I do that, you have to promise, one, that they're friendly, and two, that you guys are going to do something about the mountain. He made agreements with you guys.
Yeah, we made deals.
You had agreements? I didn't get an agreement.
Well, that's because you guys didn't want to talk to him.
I'm a berserker.
Yeah, that's fair. Like you said, you guys aren't the socializers. Yeah.
An ogre berserker, and I think I'm doing a good job at being friendly at that.
Yeah, that's true. Chess says, I mean, you gave them dibs, and Grunkle nearly ate him. And dibs spoke common.
No. I didn't nearly eat him. I threatened to eat him if he didn't stop stealing from well-armed freaking mercenary groups around us. It's like, okay, so you go into a camp and everybody has AK-47s, and you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't be here because I'm Mr. Pickles and I am kind of scared of guns. And they're like, hey, you want to have lunch? And it's like, yeah, I'll have lunch. And then you see your friend who's sneaking into their commander camp and being like, I'm gonna mess around with stuff. You want to like, you you don't want to get penned with their like precious jewels, and they're like, hey, pointing an AK-47 at you, why do you have all of our jewels?
I just want to
And
point
then
out
you're like,
once more, all you saw was Dibs walk into a tent, and you were just like, hey, that guy's the devil? He's here
I
to
didn't
fuck
call
you
him the
over.
devil. I took
You
responsibility.
got a hold of
I-
them and was like, that guy.
I wanted to make sure that shit didn't get pinned on me, and yes,
So
it was
you
a
pinned
panic
it on
response.
someone else first.
The
Narc.
person doing the crime.
He hadn't done anything.
He was breaking and entering. He was entered. He entered.
Maybe he just wanted to talk to her, and he never got
Yeah,
a chance.
while
'cause
she
Bjorn
wasn't-
was like, hey, arrest that man.
Yeah, I didn't want him to talk to her. He had too many secrets.
You're not
He's gonna
allowed
be like,
to talk.
oh, guess what? We've got a wizard in our group, a bad wizard. I'm not supposed to talk about him. He's a bad wizard, and he's escaping from people. I'm not supposed to talk about it. And it'd be like, damn it, Dibs, that's a player in our group. We're trying not to get him killed by these people who want him
Remember,
dead.
None of this actually happened. This was all in Justin Grunkle's head.
Yes.
I mean,
Mhm.
calling him out and getting the guy arrested after doing absolutely nothing did happen. But all the things that could have happened is just in Grunkle's head.
I panicked. I'll admit that. I panicked, and I didn't want to get executed by all of the well-armed mercenaries around us, and I considered it a 60% chance that he was doing something nefarious. You gave me no evidence to believe that Dibs is just altruistic and not stealing from people and sneaking into places. That he was always doing weird, shifty things. You can't blame me as a player for being like, okay, so where are you getting these poisoned arrows from that you're handing to our archer? Grokle didn't see that, but yes, and we're welcome. But it's one of those moments where it's like, huh, I don't know how I feel about this guy. He's leaving too many questions open.
I remember when that happened, I'm reacting as this is happening because this isn't scripted. I didn't know this was gonna happen. You go in there and you're just like, arrest that guy, and I was just like, what the fuck, Grunkle? Like, that was my only response. I was like, okay, what the fuck, Grunkle? And right after you had been like, hey, snitches get stitches, don't snitch. He was like, okay, Grunkle. And then you're like, arrest that man. He's like, what the fuck, Grunkle?
Okay. So what was he gonna do?
You don't know.
Yeah, well, this is a chance to absolve yourself. So he's.
I don't have to. I know. You don't know.
I mean, yeah, you don't have to, but for drinks and discussions, I mean, what was your thought process there then? Was it something that was going to be a benefit? Did you like as a storyteller myself, there are many times where I look at situations and I think this could be a major wait, why'd you go all green?
It did go weird. I just saw that. I looked back at my screen. I don't know. Is it back to normal?
Yeah, it's back to normal now.
Yep.
There's so many situations, even in Strange Town of Golden Ridge, where it's like, this is a very beneficial situation. There are well-informed characters here. Players have tons of questions. They have full access. And then they kind of just say...
What I will say is, where did Dibs's allegiances lie? Who would he... Like, would he be screwing you guys over? Would he be helping you? Did he like his new friends?
Oh, he screwed us over all the time. I'm pretty sure he was constantly blurting out information we didn't want him to blurt out. So even if he's going in to have a pleasant talk with the mercenary
Hey, let me tell you my dad. He's really story important. Shut up, Dibs. Okay.
Well, there is also that.
Hey, I built this thing for you. Shut up, Dibs. Okay.
He caused so much trouble, though.
You killed his family and he helped you.
They were okay. So again, a chance to absolve yourself. Make me eat my own words. Those kobold, they're all eating at the Rhino, clearly starved, and I mean, if we would they have attacked us if we had just walked past?
Are you wanting me to give away spoilers of There was, God, I can't
I mean,
remember, 5 of them?
no, there was like there might have been 5.
There's
It was
3
either
to
5 or
5.
8.
No, there wasn't that many.
Yeah, I don't think
So
there
we'll
was
go with
8.
5. So there's 5 of them. You're an ogre. You guys had real weapons. And if you remember, you guys charged at them. They threw all their javelins until you kept coming, and then they tried to run away.
Well, there was one on top of the body that was doing
And
something.
immediately got speared and knocked off and fell behind them.
Yeah, there were 2 on top. That one got speared and knocked off. But I remember there
Yeah.
being something that was like, oh, that's tactically kind of clever that you were doing with the guy on top. Did he have like a net or bolas?
He bola Torvekic.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a moment where I was like, oh, that's a good fight you built there.
Yeah. They had things to keep you. They weren't planning on fighting you face to face. You're an ogre, so they were like, "Stay back, stay back," and then you wouldn't stay back, and they're like, "Fucking run!" And you guys cut them down.
I mean, they weren't speaking my language, so
No, they didn't.
yeah, I thought that was like a situation
Also,
where it's
a
like,
note to take away. They were Dibs'
Yeah,
family, but they didn't speak common.
I mean,
But Dibs did. Why? Weird. No one asked these
Strange.
questions. This is totally off topic, but this reminds me of a huge moment that chat called out and the party didn't. You guys came across, I think we've talked about this before, you guys came across Isabella at the river. Little Izzy, she helped you guys kind of learn how to walk across the river, how to mud walk and get across. You guys got past that, you headed north, and then you saw Isabella getting thrown into a flower pod, kidnapped by blights. And chat was sitting there going, how did Isabella get all the way up here? And I was like, that's a good fucking question that they never asked. They're just like, yeah, we just saw Isabella way down there, and now she's here. Yeah, that makes sense. It was never asked, and so I can't tell chat the answer, but it was something that I found funny. It's just things that players don't think about in the moment or whatever.
In the moment, I had to get that girl out of a pod.
Yeah. Like Grunkle being like, would they have attacked us? Well, I mean, if you take all the facts, they didn't really attack you at all. They tried to keep you guys away from them, and you said, fuck that, we're killing you. And they're like, fuck!
Yeah. I mean, I guess I look at it from the angle of, in the strange town of Golden Ridge, after that like first session where you just blew away those monsters, they were being threatening, yes, but they hadn't actually harmed anybody that you could see.
Same situation. It could be friendly. Maybe she was sick, and they were like, hey, this one's sick, we need to heal her. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, it very well could be. That's exactly the same kind of idea. We acted on what we thought was right. You guys did the same thing. I'm not saying you guys did anything wrong. I'm not saying passing off Dibs was wrong. I'm not saying attacking those guys. I'm not saying none of that was wrong. You guys just made decisions. Neither good nor bad. You just made decisions, and it affected the story going forward. I'm not saying you guys. I don't think you guys did anything wrong. Like personally, I really don't. I think you guys acted, and it affected consequences down the road. Neither good nor bad. That's just the facts of it. So don't feel called out like I'm being like, hey, you did the wrong thing. I'm just calling out, hey, you acted on knowledge that you had at the time, but maybe you didn't have all the knowledge. Maybe something else was going on. Maybe you were totally right, and you guys would have gotten fucked in the end.
Well, and I guess that's where I come from when I'm asking the question. Like, is it important to the plot that the things like that happen? Whereas, like, if you had asked me, so what if we didn't shoot at these monsters and we went up to them and tried to talk to them? I'd say, well, they would have attacked you.
I see.
Because that's the purpose of the plot. You're not supposed to like them, and if you tried to do that, that would have been a foolish move, because you should react with these things are stalking a teenage girl. We need to, what the fuck? They have weird mouths. Put them down.
We also have very different games. Your game is set on a course line. Mine is a very open world. And chat just brought up a really valid point. This is an incredibly hostile swamp. It would be natural for them to think, hey, these things are hostile. Perfectly reasonable. Like I'm saying, you guys didn't do anything wrong. Like, hey, you guys, it won't affect, like, my story is this grandstanding plot that won't be affected by these things. These things are going to affect, like, how you move through the maze, to get to the grandstanding plot, but it's not gonna like you're not gonna get the bad ending because you killed some kobold. Like that's not that big of an impact. It'll have an impact on like things down the road and how you get to information, how things play out. But like think about it. The kobold said that this is totally not on topic for drinks discussions, but the kobold talked about how Dibs brought up the point. You guys didn't listen to him, but Dibs brought up the point, but that their father is Atlas. You guys know Atlas is the swamp dragon now. You guys learned that. So when you guys go to meet Atlas, you could have gone and been like, hey, we saved all your children. Or you can go to him and be like, we murdered all your children. Maybe that will have an impact.
Like a bad ending where we got the bad ending by not properly assessing the threat.
Or, you know, maybe Atlas is a threat and being like, hey, maybe you can use that as a bargaining chip. Be like, hey, leave this town alone. We took out the rest of your offspring. We will take you out too if you don't leave this town alone. And maybe he'll be like, that's a good point. Yeah, you guys are killing off my offspring. I need to go leave and build my family somewhere else, maybe.
He's a dragon. He's not going to listen to an ogre like that. I need a power level intimidation before I get to that point.
We also know he's not fully dragon.
Well, we also know that Grunkle is not
fully berserk.
Scary ogre.
Yeah.
Well, yes, he's an imposter, but we derailed here.
Yeah, I know, we're totally off topic. So, animal companions.
Yeah, animal companions. Grunkle's not a good berserker.
We got to where we wanted to talk about it. But I've been working on King's Crossing a lot. Like today, I just went through episode 2 for the wiki and was detailing all that. And so it's been on my mind. But yeah, animal companions. There's a lot. Oh shit! The stoned guy with the child's severed limb clutched in his stony grasp. Yeah. Yep, that's Atlas.
Yep.
There was more to that. There was more to that story too.
Well, I wasn't there for that, so I can't be too responsible for that.
Did you guys ever explain that, Adis?
They did.
Okay.
I wasn't actually there.
No, yeah, you
secondhand knowledge.
Yeah. There's things that their party is encountering, things that like back on King's Crossing, the Lost Sons. They showed up and he's fucking panicked and thought the Rockcar Legion was attacking.
Rockcar Legion's attacking.
That was hilarious. But you guys knew. You're like, yeah, no, it's the Lost Sons. They followed us to town. Grunkle told them where we live. Whereas the opposite, Eldor Arlane, they know exactly who he is. He got up on stage and was talking. You guys, Pickles group was like, who the fuck is this guy? So there's some things they know, some things you guys know, and the idea is under the table, you guys come together in town and discuss and been like, hey, this is what we learned. This is who we met. There's a guy who runs the antiquarian. They have knowledge there. You guys should check it out.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of under the table,
is it time?
Yeah, it has been that time.
Okay. Yeah. Drinks and discussions. Animal companions. Say this. This is what you guys get. I mean, it kind of works. I had a good episode. I don't know if people who tuned in, this is exactly what they wanted, but there you go. Check out Drinks and Discussions. The entire series is on YouTube. They're not like labeled or anything. It's just kind of a pick an episode and watch kind of thing. You don't have to watch episode 1 to understand episode 4. It's kind of just a grab bag of different stuff we talk about. There's some really good episodes in there. There's some not so great episodes in there. Just
Flying.
That flying. Yeah, that episode's in there. Yeah, just check it out. Like the video if you liked it. Comment what you thought, and we'll see you in the next video. You're gonna answer this yourself.
All right.
Okay. So first off, chat said, is there a hooch forum on Discord yet? I feel like there's more to whiskey than I know.
Oh, there certainly is, and we will get right on that.
Yep, it's coming. I pitched the idea. I said, hey, the problem is that a D6 is like a proper, responsible adult who has shit to do and isn't on Discord all day like me.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a occasional thing. He'll work on it as he can, maybe bring it in. The next thing that was said was someone asked a D6 if they put your name is just a die, like the emote of a dice.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like it.
Someone asked a D6 if good whiskey needs to get shook like a baby with a British nanny before decanting.
What?
No, you don't need to do that.
No, you don't air out your whiskey unless you're drinking it. What the fuck?
God.
You don't need to do that. I've heard that before of like, oh, it brings out like some of these aromatic notes and stuff like that. But all you need is a tulip glass. I mean, come on, man.
The doctor's at the door.
Ooh,
If you can
that would be interesting to learn about the different glasses, because I have one of these.
Yeah, and this is what's called a Glendronach, or not a Glendronach, Glenmorangie glass.
Yeah.
A tulip glass, essentially. All it does is it focuses the aromatics to the nose, as well as letting it. You can kind of swirl it around, and that kind of opens it up a little bit. But yeah,
Change up my game, because I have these, and then I have a different set that's just round, but it has a bullet sticking in the side.
yeah.
Yeah, it has a
So
round inside.
you can get like a 4-pack of these on Amazon for like $20.
Fuck yeah. There you guys go. My birthday's in like a week, so boom bam. I've been asking for slippers for like 7 years, and no one has got me a present. I'm not calling you guys out. I'm saying like the actual people in my life, my friends. No, I know exactly. That's why I'm saying I'm not calling you guys out. I mean like the actual people that I've like been around in my life. For like 7 years. I mean, granted, I've moved across the country. I'm not near any of my friends anymore, so there's that. But I think the only person is Pickles, and I trade video games. For his birthday, I'll buy him video games. And for my birthday, he buys me video games. So that works out. But I've been asking for slippers for like fucking a decade. I'm still wearing my old.
What's your shoe size, Rad?
No, I bought myself slippers this year. I said, fuck it. I'm getting myself my own slippers. I'm tired of waiting. Being let down by people. Except Pickles. Pickles has got me some fun ass games. He got me Dishonored. I loved that series. That was such a good.
I got you Dishonored?
Yeah.
I like that game.
Wow.
Dishonored was
Good
great.
job, Past Pickles.
Yeah, it was a great series.
Good
I
job,
fucking
Past
loved
Pickles.
it.
You did good, man.
I might even do a replay of it, because that was a great game. It's like the
There
only
are
one of their
sometimes-
kind, and then they got rid of it. There's Dishonored, and there was Hitman. But Dishonored, I think, did so much better with it.
Mhm.
But Hitman
Dishonored
was so
was a
much
good
more
game.
popular.
Dishonored was a good game.
Yeah. There's
was a
Dishonored and
fantastic
Dishonored 2. Yeah.
Yep.
Good job, Pickles.
Oh, there's a new strategy game that's coming out soon. I can't remember it.
Uh-huh.
You gotta let me cook a little bit instead of just saying,
Let
all
him-
right, cool.
let
I'm
him
not
cook.
interested.
Let him cook.
Let him cook. Oh yeah, a strategy game. That one's
I
my
was
favorite.
getting there.
I'm trying to back you up, man. Yeah, the one with the thing.
The one with the thing.
Oh God, is anyone else hard? Daisy? No. I tried.
It's by an indie developer. I'm trying to remember the name. It's about World War II in the Pacific and controlling fleets and shit. So.
Oh, you would.
The
World of
Bethesda.
Warships.
That's been out for a minute. The Bethesda game. I think it's Bethesda. Based off Assassin's Creed Black Flag. That game's finally gonna be coming out. It's just What's it called? Black Sails or something.
Are they just making is it just ships? Or
Yeah,
what?
it's like you build up your ship and you get to have like ship battles and stuff and do the whole like swing across onto the ship, board their ships, be an assassin, but it's mainly the ship combat, not the story game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whoa, Pickles. God.
Pickles
Reminds me of
teleporting.
an episode of Zim Boom Bafoo.
You're kind of your mic's kind of purring there, Daisy.
No, that's just her. That's just how she talks.
Oh.
No, that's not.
She's just gargling. She's getting ready. Let her cook. I don't
That's
know.
a little
It's
reverb to it.
very reverb at the end.
Yeah.
Like
I think she said. Maybe she just really
No,
likes
not at all.
Oh,
us.
that helps.
Does it?
Maybe
I
unplug.
just turned myself down.
Oh, that does not help at
No,
all.
never
Yeah,
mind.
that's not gonna change.
Yeah, I'd suggest turning it off and turning it on again.
Yeah,
I have a friend named Chase, and he says unplug it and plug it back in.
he's a doctor of like computer.
Well, she's a Dr. Fork Knife.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
thought
that
she was
was a
Dr.
time.
Fortnite.
gotta watch Dr. Fortnite, Dr. Fortnite, Dr. Sniper Lady.
Pickles, you have a little bit of an annoying thing right there.
Are you talking about Mulberry, who's
Okay,
staring
that's
me
his
down?
face, first of all.
No, below his face.
Oh, Barry.
Yeah, she really wants my attention, but
I
she
hate
doesn't want to be
cats.
pet or like sit on my lap.
Yeah,
She's just
that's
being
why
like,
I hate cats, because they'll stare at you like, pay attention to me, but don't you dare touch me, or look at me, or
It sounds like a
or
you
do
problem.
anything.
well, I'm a narcissist.
Okay, bye.
She'll be back. She's fixing her
She's
microphone, I'm
trying to
sure.
figure shit out.
And little Barry just likes to. She just likes looking at me sometimes.
And it's annoying because they're so fluffy too.
Yeah.
My perception roll beat Pickle's stealth roll. Oh, you can see him now? he found the pickle in the forest.
Oh, yep. You guys
Oh, here
succeeded
goes.
in the chat.
How do you cope with a throat pour? I'm taking Adis's advice. He is the wizard of whiskey and being a man and sucking it up.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Raffle,
Oh, Adis,
good.
I don't know if I've asked you before, but have you had any Johnny Walker Blue Label?
Yes, I have.
I think you.
What-
God, did you ask this?
What'd you
Dr.
think
Fork
about it?
Knife is in.
Oh,
I mean, it's a blended Scotch, so it's. I mean, you get a certain flavor profile with it, and I mean, it's the Johnny Walker profile, but it's. I mean, it's better than like Black and Red Label. I'll give it that.
I like it because you can actually taste shit rather than it just burning down your throat the entire time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mic check, Daisy?
Testing? Any
Yep.
better?
You're
Yep,
good.
that
Oh
sounds
yeah,
better.
much better.
So weird.
you can hear her?
She's
Yeah.
very quiet, but yeah, everybody's quiet for me
Down
usually.
and unplugged and replugged.
Cranking her up.
That is an interesting bottle you have there.
Get cranked.
Joe Flask.
Did you paint it yourself?
No, it's got stickers on it.
Oh, it's stickers,
Oh.
not drawings.
They're
Okay.
very, very old stickers of cows.
Cows?
Oh, there's another cat.
There's a cow. Yes, I have a
Mm,
cat.
fellow cat person.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, the tree in the background says cat.
Got 4.
You want to come be a cat?
Mhm.
You actually have me beat on cat level there. We have 3, but we're hopefully upgrading to 4 soon.
Well, that's my situation. There's just a stray we're feeding that has started coming into the house when we feed him at night.
You
So,
wanna-
so I'm gonna get him fixed and let him come in.
That's actually exactly the situation we have. My wife, who is better at naming animals than me, named him Badger. We got him fixed, and now we're
puppy is
trying to
called
see if
Laura.
he can interact with the rest of the family, be normal,
That's always
rather
rough.
than suffer and die out in a gutter.
Mhm.
The dog has no idea what's going on.
This is
but
my
she's-
cat?
Yeah, she's being
Oh,
adorable
that's
by
a
doing it.
pretty
She's wondering what I'm
kitty.
doing
Yeah,
here.
pretty kitty.
Who's a big kitty cat?
Are you a big kitty cat? Pickles is teaching me how to speak cat.
Yeah.
What else do I say?
No,
I wish-
honestly, if you want to talk to cats, it's just having that consistent vocalization. Like
Just be
one of the things
vocal.
you can do if you want to make a cat trust
I
you.
mean, that's one way.
Well, I meant more of a consistent low vocalization.
Oh.
If you blink slowly
So
at a kitty
confused.
cat,
She's like, now.
blink very, very slowly,
"Get me
you're
outta
telling
here."
them you're not a threat and that you love them.
I don't have time for all that.
I thought I had to wag my tail.
All right. Well,
You just
I'll
got
leave you
the big
guys
cat.
to it. So
All right, see you, D's. Good seeing you, man.
see you guys.
Yeah. See you later, Adis.